I appreciate it.
Why shouldn't I?
Well, I don't know. I'm a mere mortal. I'm sure you've got plenty of other people you'd rather be talking to than me.
The timing is what it is,
Yes.
and we trust the timing to be communicating with whoever we are communicating with at that moment as the best possible thing that can be happening right now.
Ooh, well, no pressure, but I'm excited to talk to you. So let me explain what I've been doing, Bashar. I went around and spoke to religious leaders, scientists, doctors, children, and also went within myself to craft a list of questions that I think everyone in the world wants answers to. So some of the things I ask will jump around from topic to topic, but I'm just hoping you can help us to unravel some of the riddles of the universe.
We will address them as appropriate.
Okay. And I apologize if you aren't happy with some of the questions.
There is no need to apologize.
Okay.
Happiness has nothing to do with it. We are always in joy. Some things may or may not be appropriate, but there is no emotional connection to the idea of whether they are or not.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll just get started. So a lot of people say that we're living in a computer, in a simulation. Are we?
You are living in your own simulation. Remember that physical reality is a projection of your consciousness. So a simulation, yes, but not one being put upon you other than the ones you yourselves, individually and collectively, are creating in order to allow you to experience the idea of yourself through the concept of physical reality. It's your projection, it's your simulation.
So not somebody up there playing a computer game called Planet Earth?
No.
No. Okay.
That, except for the fact that it's you.
I'm playing my own game.
All of you,
Are playing our own
individually and
games.
collectively, are playing the game of Planet Earth.
Okay. Well, a lot of people believe that we evolved from, being in the water to chimpanzees to Neanderthal man to now. But then a lot of other people believe that at some point people from beings from another planet came here and altered our DNA to help us to fast track our intelligence and move forward quicker. Is that what happened? What happened?
In general, yes, although you did not evolve from chimpanzees. Chimpanzees is its own separate branch of evolution. There was an early form that you all branched off from, but eventually a hominid form, something similar to what you have labeled Homo erectus, evolved naturally on your planet. At that point, several 100,000 of your years ago, an extraterrestrial species that called themselves the Anu did in fact come to your world, and they were in search of certain minerals to assist them in the balancing of the atmosphere of their own world. Realizing what a monumental task it was, they decided to inject their own DNA, being master geneticists, into several of the hominid species that had evolved to a certain point and were similar enough to them to transform into those that could help them in this endeavor. Thus, they created from the original hominid form what came to be understood now as Homo sapiens.
I see. And I guess recorded history says that we haven't been intelligent for that long. They say that the pyramids was one of the first true surviving recorded records of history. But is that true, or have we had many incantations here that have been wiped out by tsunamis?
There have been several civilizations that have succumbed to the idea of cyclic disasters on your planet, what you call Lemuria, or originally what is known as Mu. The idea you call Atlantis has been destroyed by cometary impact and tsunamis. And the idea of the oldest pyramids, and many of them existing around your planet, were built as a reminder and a warning and an encapsulation of knowledge so that you would understand how to decode it, understand what would happen and what has happened in the future and the past, and allow yourselves perhaps the opportunity to avoid such calamity again in your future.
one thing that I've mused on is that the reason that there are no records of these past civilizations, is because they rose to a technological level where their information was stored on iPads or out in the cloud like we do now. Is that what happened? Like, why can't we find records of Atlantis other than Plato's one paper?
There are a few places where some Atlantean records are still buried you have yet to find. Some of them in the Egypt area, some of them in the South American areas. But the idea to understand is that the disasters were of such a magnitude as to completely bury most of the information and most of the remnants of those civilizations. There are still some remnants around that you do know about to some degree, but you don't know what you're looking at. You're not sure where they come from. You're not sure what civilization they're connected to, even though some of them may actually have Atlantean roots. Some of the oldest pyramids, in fact, were guided and assisted by some of the Atlanteans that survived, that evacuated before the disaster, and guided some other civilizations on your planet to build such structures.
When it comes to the history of the pyramids of Giza, the ongoing, most popular theory is that they were linked to the constellation Sirius, and that beings from that planet came down and assisted in the building of those pyramids, and they were used as a form of communication. Is this true?
They were used for many different purposes. The idea of extraterrestrial assistance in those constructions simply goes back to Atlantean times, when there were connections and contacts between some extraterrestrials, including beings from Sirius, that did divulge some knowledge and information of architecture and engineering that was carried on by the Atlanteans, who then more directly assisted the ancient Egyptians and other cultures in the building of those pyramids, because they had preserved that knowledge in the ones that evacuated. But not directly did extraterrestrials assist, but indirectly through ancient knowledge, more ancient than the pyramids themselves.
Got it. One question that has absolutely plagued historians and scientists.
You may wish to wait a moment.
Oh, you have experience in directing too. I love this. You sound okay? No? I hope craft are faster in your world than they are in ours.
If they wish to be, yes.
Yes. Good. Okay. So a question that has plagued architects, historians for hundreds of years is, how did ancient Egyptians move those blocks to be able to construct that pyramid?
In some of the later pyramids, when some of the knowledge was lost, they used the idea of engineering knowledge of leverage and levers and cranes and so on and so forth, as has been surmised by many of your archaeologists. However, the oldest ones were done with a mix of technologies, including the idea of some levitation through sonic means, acoustic means, some of the idea also of softening the rock and pushing them into place and letting them re-harden again, almost like a casting, and some of the idea of certain kinds of electromagnetic technologies, but that came much earlier and was eventually lost.
Right. So that would have come from a more advanced civilization, I guess, than the one that we even have now, because we don't have the ability to do those things.
It is a trade-off, as you say in your language, because the ancient civilizations, especially Atlantis, had many things you do not have, more advanced, but you also have many things they did not have. It's simply that you have taken a slightly different path. They took a different path than you have, and therefore theirs was more based on the idea of resonance and vibration, but your civilization is rediscovering some of that knowledge as well.
Was the Atlanteans were obviously an advanced civilization with technology. different technology, as you just explained, was their environment cleaner than ours based on the usage of what they had?
Yes.
So they utilized free energy devices and the environment?
They utilized resonance with crystalline forms to create light, to create sound, to create vibrations that could cause levitation. There were what you might call smoke from fires for cooking and such, but not to the level that you experience in your civilization that is polluting the atmosphere.
Is there any of the technology that they had then that would benefit us now, that we could utilize now?
Yes, of course. Again, you are beginning to understand the concepts of vibrational resonance of certain materials, how they can be caused to vibrate with certain harmonics and allow for certain kinds of effects, such as, again, light and energy, electromagnetic fields, and so on and so forth. It's all about resonance. It's all about frequency, and you're beginning to learn this more and more.
Is there a way to fast track that knowledge, Bashar?
There is, if you understand how to utilize certain kinds of what you call ratios, golden ratios, phi ratios, Fibonacci sequences, as you've labeled them, in your construction of devices that would be like resonating capacitors to store these frequencies and amplify and magnify these frequencies. One device we have described to some people on your planet contains 3 spherical shells, the inner spherical shell of copper, no more than 1/8 of your inches thick, but better if only about 1/16. And then the next sphere that encompasses it being separated from it by the phi ratio of 1 to 1.618, and the third sphere separated again by another factor of 1 to 1.618. The central sphere containing what you call a Merkaba, the idea of a double interpenetrating pyramid that uses what you call a Sierpinski gasket formation, also of copper, that is isolated from the inner sphere with projections that you call antennae, spike antennae, projecting through the spheres, insulated from the spheres, where electromagnetic or electrical energy is input into this device to cause it to resonate, thus giving an output greater than what was input. Some of the people on your planet have begun experimenting with the device as we described it and are finding some success in registering and recording output greater than the input. They are at what you might call a very, very beginning level, but they are experimenting with it and finding some success in going forward. We will not give you too much until you have mastered what we've already given you. But this is the basic principle of such devices that you term free energy, is that it is a resonating capacitor that transforms from high frequencies to low frequencies, can tap into much higher frequencies, and transform them down into the kind of frequencies that you can siphon electromagnetic and electrical energy from in a way that will service the devices that you have on your planet.
Whoa. I hope somebody understands that, because I did not.
The people that are building such devices
will
do understand.
Of course. Okay, we're going to change topic a little. So, as you know, of course, recently we endured a global pandemic, COVID-19.
How exciting for you.
It was exciting times for sure, and scary times for a lot of people. There were reactions all around the world, and one of the things that divided humanity was whether or not this was a pandemic or what we called plandemic. Half of the population believed that it developed from and it jumped from an animal to humans. The other half believed that it was created in a lab and intentionally released. Do you have any information about what happened with COVID-19?
Accidents happened, but it was not created. It was not planned. This is the result of the destruction of the ecosystems on your planet that allowed the virus to go beyond the natural systems that would have contained it. And thus then accidents happened that allowed it to be released.
Right, but it wasn't an intentional release.
No.
It wasn't something that somebody did. Okay.
No.
And do you think that the world reacted appropriately, or were there things that we could have done to save more lives and get to the other side quicker?
There could have been improvements. But again, it has to be left up to different individuals and groups as to decide what is best for them. So the entire experience has many different pathways in it, some of which would be good for some individuals and not good for others. You have to come together to collectively understand why this occurred by the destruction of the nature on your planet that allows such organisms to create opportunistic scenarios in which they go beyond what they normally would have gone beyond.
So do you see in our future another pandemic coming to get us? Another pandemic for humanity?
The potential as it exists right now, as we read the energy of your planet, in probability is about 56 to 67% that it could happen again if you don't learn the lessons of the first one.
Okay. So I've been told that you call yourself a first contact specialist.
Yes.
I believe that your mission is to come here and to prepare humanity so that we're ready to have first contact with extraterrestrials.
For those who choose to accept that probability. It is not for everyone. We do not force anything on anyone. It is up to each of you to decide whether that is the kind of world you wish to experience or not. But we are giving you the opportunity to do so because we are responding to the invitation, in a sense, that you are all, or some of you are, giving off, that you are now more aware that you are not necessarily the only life form in the universe. And therefore we respond to that to whatever degree we feel is appropriate without intervention or interfering in your particular form of evolution.
Right. So one thing that I've been told and that I've experienced myself is that if you use telepathy or put an intention out there into the universe that you want to make contact, that somehow extraterrestrials will be able to pick up on that intention and will then respond if they can be bothered. Is this true? And is there a better way to do it than we've been doing it?
It is not about a better way. It is about what you say, putting the intention out, because that is vibration. It is frequency. It is resonance. It is energy. The idea is that it is picked up by those that are paying attention to you. Not everyone is, but by those that are paying attention to your world and what is going on Earth. They will pick up that vibration in whatever way is relevant for them, and they will respond in whatever way is relevant for them. Not everyone is concerned about your world, but some of us are.
Right. So one way that has become very popular now is people will sit outside in their gardens, meditate, and basically say, hey, I'm here, come and show me a sign that you're there. Do you think that it's a good method for us to be using to alert the extraterrestrials to our intent to want to communicate?
It can be, but don't insist on signs. Some may be given, but the idea is not to get signs. The idea is to know within yourself, within your mind, within your soul, within your heart, that you are not alone, and to open up your hearts and your minds and your spirits to the understanding that you are connected to the cosmos, that you are part of a galactic family and a spiritual family, that you are not alone. That has to be real for you before the signs can occur. We understand that sometimes people will see our ships or other manifestations, but that's an indication and a reflection that someone is already on a level to see them. Wishing for the sign can actually cause the opposite to happen, because if you need the sign in order to know that those things exist, in order to know that you are connected, in order to feel the connections, then in some way, shape, or form you are doubting those connections, and you will get that kind of a reflection. So the idea is to just relax, open up, and trust the timing that those things will happen in perfect timing. They will unfold in exactly the way they need to, that is relevant for the people that are giving out the vibration of acceptance, allowance, and invitation.
I didn't want to ask any personal questions, but I'll just ask this one because it's something me and a lot of my friends are experiencing. Once I finally saw my first UFO, now I see them all the time. Do you think that that's because once you truly believe, then they feel more comfortable appearing to you?
In a sense, yes. Or it's just that because you have altered your frequency, you are now more capable of seeing what is always around you. Because there is much traffic all around you. It's just that your senses are not necessarily attuned to it. But once you arrive at a certain level of frequency, then it's easier for you to see what's always been there. And once again, you may wish to wait.
Okay, let's continue.
All right.